did you do any photography in the army? Did you do any painting in the army? Like, like you were in the army for 12 years. At
Yeah.
what point, say post army, did you become like, I'm all in on a full-time artist?
Yeah, honestly, well, like to answer your first question, yeah, I was, I had a 35 millimeter little disposable camera when I deployed, and I was able to deploy a lot of our drive from Kuwait to Baghdad. You know what I'm saying? And I had like two cameras, which was like 24 rolls, I think, 24 shots of film, and one of the boxes got ruined. It was like the disposable joint. So I have one roll that I was able to salvage that I still have to this day. But yeah, I was documenting as much as I could. Had my family at some point midway through my last deployment for my birthday send me a digital camera, which was new to me because I'd never used one of those before.
What
And
year can we share what year this is? Because
yeah,
I
this
remember my
was
first digital camera. What
uh,
year is this?
this was mid 2000 and no, it was either late 2003 or early. Well, no, it was like going into 2004.
So this
You know
is
what
like
I'm
a
saying?
10 megapixel.
Yeah, it was like it
Yeah.
was the Sony CyberShot joint. That's what I
Yeah,
was the Sony
yeah,
CyberShot.
yeah.
It was the little silver joint. It kind of had like a round little anyway. Yeah, that was actually that lit a fire in me because it wound up allowing me the instant access to the imagery that I was capturing while I was deployed. And
Mm, mm.
it's ironic because I don't have any of those files anymore, but I still got the film pictures that I took. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? So, y'all don't
Yeah.
sleep on film. If you into art, like always have prints and tangible evidence of your work. Don't just have it in the cloud somewhere. You gotta print your stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, I always think about it. That's so funny. I don't have any of those digital files I took. But yeah, I was definitely fascinated by photography, even as a kid, man. And for some reason I just felt the creative bug again while I was deployed. It helped keep me sane. It was like we would work out, that was our big like escape when it came time to downtime in war. You work out, ain't nothing else.
Hmm.
What, and then we helped build a pool so we can, swim and it was a decent deployment, but it was still difficult. You feel me? So photography and art specifically was a thing.
It's like a
I'll say,
vice almost, would you say?
yeah, I would say it was just kind of a form of escapism,
Hmm.
like understanding the importance of documenting my journey, but also just the physical feeling of satisfaction and dopamine hit whenever I had a camera up to my eyes.
Hmm.
That feeling of the click, and
Hmm.
seeing that work eventually after it's developed, or even on the digital format in the little eight megapixel camera that I was using, man, I was amazed and blown away.
Facts.
So that definitely had an impact on me. And like I said, it's so crazy that I think about it. I got all those photos that on that old 35 millimeter Kodak disposable camera. I still have those pictures, man. Still got
That's
them, man.
that's crazy. So when
Yeah.
did you first get paid to take pictures?
Yeah, funny story, man. So I was working, because I had a pretty technical job when I got out. My transition into corporate IT wasn't too difficult. I spent the time, stacking my money, working security on Fort Bragg as an armed security guard, and then transitioned into a corporate job. Man, I was working in Cary at a company doing network support, and I,
Okay.
work my way up the chain. You know what I mean? I started off in customer care. That's how hungry I was. I started off in customer
Hmm.
services, answering phones,
Hmm.
and they knew my background. They knew my technical skill sets, but I didn't have all the formal training outside of the Cisco certification. And I tell people who were in the military, as much as civilian companies say how much they respect the military, yeah, they do, but they will take that person with that master's degree before they take you, bro. So
Yeah.
get your education up and do what you got to do. So that's what I did. I came in on the bottom floor, worked my way up to engineer 3, over 4 or 5 years. And one of my best homies there was the art director, the creative director of that company. He knew I was doing photography, and I think I had like a Model Mayhem account or something, or I might have been posting on Flickr, or
Hmm.
posting joints on Facebook or whatever, man. And he knew I had an eye. You know what I mean? He appreciated that, and we'd always talk about art and photography and nerd out over camera stuff. And one day he asked me to shoot a wedding with him in Boston,
Wow.
and it was actually the chief software engineer of the particular company I was working at. His brother was getting married in Boston, well, Massachusetts, not quite Boston. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'll cut you a check for 1,500 right now." You know what I'm saying?
Easy work.
Right. I was like, okay, and I love cars, and he had a brand new Audi A4, like a 2007 joint, 2008, and we were going to drive. I was like, yeah, let's go. Let me know when you need me to drive. You know what I mean? So we drove all night to Boston and we got taken care of. It was a beautiful event. And that's the first time I really looked at my photography and work and even the business aspect of it different. Because for one, that's the first time anybody had cut me a check like that to do this work. And I was so enamored by the work I did. Not even like on some ego stuff. I was just like, wow, I actually did that. You know, I took these pictures and they're so happy with them.
And the event was what? The event was like,
it was a wedding.
How many people?
It was a big fancy wedding in a country club. There's a movie that this town actually took place in. It was gosh, it begins with a W. It's like a really funky name, but it was a movie called A Perfect Storm with George Clooney and a whole bunch of people where these Massachusetts not farmers, but fishermen were like got caught in this big giant storm at sea. Gloucester, Massachusetts. That's what it was. It's called Gloucester. Gloucester, Massachusetts. But anyway, that's where it was. And so it was like seafood was banging. You know, I had a great my man Chad. You know, he was the art director who put me onto that gig. Great partner to ride up with, and he was just a cool cat, you know. And then when we drove back down, we wound up hanging out in the city for a while. One of his friends was going to St. John's medical school, so we crashed at his apartment and we went and ate Mexican. It was like such an experience, and I was like, I literally just got paid to hang out and take pictures.
Right.
You know, it was like I was like, okay, well, light bulb moment. Right. You know, and then I'm sorry. Go ahead. Bro.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say like real quick. So I wound up getting laid off. You know, when the tech bubble burst and the real estate market started crashing, a lot of tech companies were kind of
09-ish or
early 09. Yep, early 09, February to be exact. I lost my job, you know, along with several other engineers and people in different departments while they had to downsize a little bit, you know, and that was an eye opener. It was humbling, you know, when you get walked out, when you go to the office to be told that you got let go, you come back to your desk and all your stuff is already packed up, your computer's wiped clean, and you walked out by security. You know, that was not a good feeling because I'd never been laid off like that before. So, but yeah, once again, going back to the military stuff, man, I mean, I had time. I had a severance check. They cut me because I was there for several years, and I had my GI Bill, and that's what made me get back into school and get a degree in graphic design while trying to hone my craft, basically. So yeah,
I appreciate that, and there's a couple of things I just want to highlight because, well, one, the access to the opportunity via a mentor. Was this mentor, did he look like you or did he look different?
Ironically, I never had a mentor. I didn't have a mentor till like later in my career, man. And that was a challenge. I mentored like people. I would look at people like virtual mentors, right? Like people I'd never met, artists I'd never met whose work I admired from afar. And thankfully, you know, thanks to the internet, I'd be able to follow them. And there was this one photographer out of Atlanta specifically who focused a lot on music photography, you know, key artwork for projects and artists and rappers. And he worked his name is Zach Aries. I can shout him out. It's fine. He's not, you know, no secret squirrel type of dude. A lot of photographers know his work, and his journey almost mirrored mine with the exception of the military part. You know, he tried, he failed, and he wound up realizing that he needed to try again until he wins. And he was winning finally. He had these workshops called One Light Workshop. And that's when I realized, well, damn, I could do that too. Because he would break it down like, okay, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on equipment. You have to learn the technical basics. And then you could buy this $40 thing right here and this $30 thing right here and make it work. And guess what? People won't know the difference. And that's what I did, you know. So he inspired me. I would say he was a mentor, but he doesn't know who I am. He didn't know who I was back then.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So you get that taste of like, oh, I could get paid to do this. You get laid off. The other thing I want to highlight is we're in a time now, especially as the you know, post-COVID and things have started to come down, like a lot of layoffs, especially in the tech industry. Currently as we speak, you know, someone watching this might see it and it's like sometimes you don't realize how the situation, even though you don't appreciate it in a moment, is setting you up for the next opportunity, for a rebirth, if you will. You know, a new birth to something that you didn't necessarily even anticipate, but it gives you the opportunity to pursue in a way that you didn't necessarily have the same freedom. And we're in a place now where a lot of people are going through something similar. So I want to just highlight that, like these unfortunate circumstances can turn into that diamond in the rough. That was the thing that potentially turned everything around, because it made you uncomfortable and it forced you to do something a little different.
That's right. That's right.
And
it's
so
not even a question about, as far as I look at, like, especially when I got laid off, to be, in all honesty, man, I was kind of ready to leave that job anyway, but I was holding on, what I mean? It was stressful. That's stressful work, man, dealing with multi-million-dollar companies and they losing money because their networks are down and it's your job to fix it. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, ugh, especially when things are out of your control. And that's what frustrated me as well. The universe was saying, okay, now it's your time to do what you really want to do when I got laid off. And that's how I look at it. And I ain't looked back since.
So being an artist is one thing, being a business person is different.
Indeed.